I was the good guy's top agent, their man on the inside of the most powerful dark magic organization in the world, the Blackwood Coven. For 1,000 years, I clawed my way up, mastering forbidden arts, playing a role that threatened to consume me. And I finally made it. I became the Archon, the master of the Coven. I remember the oath I swore as a young man, a promise to bring peace to the world. So, I did the one thing no one expected. I dissolved the Blackwood Coven. Just like that, the world was free of organized dark magic. When I returned to the Aegis Order, the bastion of light I'd always called home, they told me I was tainted. They used my family's safety as leverage, forcing me to sever my own powers. Then they put me on trial for consorting with darkness, with the intent to imprison me for eternity. Fine, so be it. If the world no longer has a boogeyman, I'll just have to be the new one. You see, the thing about my dark arts. Reaching the final, 9th circle of power requires you to completely destroy the first 8. It's a full system reboot. And in that moment, I became the most powerful being on the planet. With a flick of my wrist, I brought the leaders of the so-called good guys to their knees. Then I put out a call. To my 3,000 former employees, I broadcasted across the continent. Get your Solar banners polished up. It's time to get back to work. My name is Alex Vance. I'm an undercover agent. Or I was. Field Agent 9527, assigned to the Aegis Order, the premier academy of light magic. My mission, infiltrate the Blackwood Coven. It's been 1,000 years. A millennium ago, when I was still a hot-blooded kid, my mentor, Master Valerius, clapped me on the shoulder. His voice was grave. Alex, you're the kind of talent we see once in a generation. Only you can do this. Go deep, find their weakness, and tear them down from the inside. I trembled with excitement, swearing a solemn vow on the spot. Master, I won't fail you. I will eradicate the Coven and bring a new dawn to this world. He smiled, a rare, proud thing, and handed me a leather-bound book. The Dark Lord's Handbook, a guide to ultimate power. He said he'd found the ancient tome by chance, and that its techniques would perfectly mask my own magic. I bought it hook, line, and sinker. It took me 1,000 years, but I finally finished the book. Today was supposed to be the last day of my mission. Today, I, Alex Vance, known to the underworld as the Blood-Soaked Baron, the 36th Archon of the Blackwood Coven, was holding my final all-hands meeting. A massive banner hung over the entrance to our headquarters, the Obsidian Spire, celebrating the 886th General Assembly of the Blackwood Coven, hosted by our visionary Archon. Family, I began, my voice magically amplified to carry across the entire complex. Today is a momentous day. In the sprawling Central Plaza, 30,000 practitioners of the dark arts looked up. They were all in standard-issue black uniforms, company ID badges clipped to their chests, Soul Extraction Department, Nightmare Weaving Division, Curse Corp Syndicate. At my side sat my top lieutenants. To my left, Lilith Thorne, the Bone Widow, my newly appointed Chief of Human Resources. She was jotting down attendance notes on a tablet. I'd rescued her from a dark magic trafficking ring when she was just a girl and trained her myself. To my right, Elias Vance, the scribe, my top enforcer. His enchanted pen could write a man's death warrant into reality. The old Archon had taken a liking to him, a very predatory liking. I got him out. He's my brother, and the only person in this whole damned place I truly trust. I thought back 1,000 years. When I first joined, the Coven was a chaotic, inefficient startup. The previous Archon was a balding, middle-aged guy who kidnapped children to use in his hair growth potions. I got my big break when I pointed out his hair loss was due to lead poisoning from his own shoddy alchemy. He saw my potential and started grooming me for management. After that, I won the annual Dark Arts talent show, Coven's Got Talent, and my path to the C-suite was set. I revolutionized the industry. Lead-free potions, strict prohibitions on heavy metals in our elixirs. I reformed the blood ritual arrays, introducing eco-friendly, energy-efficient designs, replacing live sacrifices with hyper-realistic synthetic constructs. I even pioneered a new era of magical hustle culture, encouraging everyone to see their 24/7 dark ritual schedule as a blessing. Finally, I drafted the Strategic Vision Report for the Blackwood Coven's next 3 millennia, a groundbreaking document that, combined with my formidable power, persuaded the Board of Elders. I beat the old Archon in a hostile takeover and became the new Archon. And now, it was time to make good on that long-ago promise. Family, I said, my voice booming. Based on a deep-dive analysis of the current geopolitical landscape of the magical world and a strategic forecast of future trends, the executive office has made a difficult but necessary decision. I hereby announce that the Blackwood Coven is, effective immediately, officially dissolved. What? Archon, we haven't gotten our quarterly bonuses yet. What about my loan from the Coven Fund? I just took out a mortgage on a new model flying fortress. The crowd erupted in chaos. I held up a hand for silence and snapped my fingers. A giant holographic display materialized behind me, the title glowing in crimson letters. Blackwood Coven Employee Transition and Career Placement Plan, N+3 severance. Don't panic, I continued smoothly. The company will not leave you high and dry. All employees, regardless of rank, will receive a severance package of N+3 in enchanted crystals, where N is your years of service. Anyone with over 500 years of tenure will also receive the deed to a warded condo in a prime ley line district. Furthermore, we have established strategic partnerships with the top magical headhunting firms to provide you with over 10,000 premium job opportunities, including but not limited to magical beast handler, potion sales representative, and runic array maintenance engineer. I paused for effect, then delivered the killer feature. Most importantly, those soul siphon banners I issued to each of you have been upgraded. They are now state-of-the-art soul lure marketing devices. Just give it a wave at a potential customer, and it will boost their affinity and purchase intent. No harmful side effects, satisfaction guaranteed. Whether you're selling insurance, elixirs, or enchanted swords, it's the must-have tool for the modern entrepreneur. Finally, I dropped the biggest bombshell. Effective immediately, for all former employees with outstanding loans from the Coven Fund, I am slashing the interest rate. The new annual rate is a flat 998 crystals, not 99.8%, not 9,998 crystals, just 998. One flat rate, no matter how much you borrowed. Below me, the 30,000 mages went from stunned silence to pure ecstasy. The Archon is a benevolent god. I've always wanted to open a magical taco truck. Now I have the startup capital. Blackwood Coven forever. I love this company. Archon, you're amazing. I want to have your magically conceived children. Watching the rapturous crowd, I smiled. The best way to dismantle a dark organization wasn't to kill them. It was to give them a future. No one is born evil. They just need a chance at a decent life. With hope on the horizon, the world would no longer have dark mages, just honorably retired and successfully re-employed former dark mages. My mission was finally complete. Lilith, my ever-efficient HR director, clicked over to me in her magically heeled boots. Her usual icy demeanor was softened with a hint of sadness. Archon, are you really leaving? My work here is done, Lily, I said, clapping her on the shoulder with the air of a hero disappearing into the sunset. 1,000 years is a long time. It's time for me to go home. But you're the Archon. Those people from the Aegis Order, will they just let you walk away? A flicker of worry crossed her eyes. I just smiled confidently and waved her concern away. Are you kidding me? I was their guy, their hero. They'd probably throw a parade for me. I unclasped the black, gold-embroidered cloak of the Archon and tossed it to Elias. Sell this for scrap. Use the money to buy everyone one last round for the road. 3 years later. It took time, but all 30,000 Coven members were successfully out-processed and disbanded. Even my 2 top lieutenants were set up with new lives. Once everyone was gone, I changed into a simple white tunic, the standard-issue uniform of an Aegis Order apprentice I'd kept stored away for a millennium. 1,000 years. The tunic was still white. The kid who first wore it was still in here somewhere. I took one last look at the spire where I'd fought and bled and managed for 1,000 years, then dissolved into a streak of light, heading east toward the Aegis Order. The Aegis Order, headquarters of the Alliance of Light. It was even more magnificent than I remembered, shimmering with holy energy. Tens of thousands of acolytes on flying discs zipped between floating towers. It was a picture of prosperity. The moment my feet touched the ground at the main gate, 2 guards intercepted me, their hands on their weapons. State your business. This is the sacred ground of the Aegis Order. Unauthorized persons must leave at once. I had suppressed my dark aura completely. I smoothed my tunic and gave them what I hoped was my most disarming smile. Easy, brothers. Agent Alex Vance, returning from a 1,003-year deep cover assignment, reporting for debrief. Alex Vance. The two young guards exchanged a look of utter confusion. Just then, a majestic figure descended from the main spire. He had an ethereal grace, with long, flowing white hair. It was my mentor, Master Valerius. I had sent him a message before my return. 1,000 years, and he hadn't aged a day. Master, I fell to one knee, my voice thick with emotion. Agent Alex Vance reporting. Mission accomplished. The Blackwood Coven has been completely and permanently dissolved. The world is safe. I expected a proud smile. A well done, my boy, you've endured so much. Instead, Valerius just stared at me, his eyes filled with a complex, unreadable emotion. Alex, you're back, he said, his voice flat. Come with me. The High Chancellor and the Council are waiting for you. My heart swelled with pride. They were holding a ceremony for me. I followed him to the Grand Sanctum. Inside, the atmosphere was heavy, oppressive. At the head of the chamber sat the leader of the Alliance of Light and the head of the Aegis Order, High Chancellor Thorn. He had a stern, weathered face, the very model of a righteous leader. Flanking him were the leaders and elders of every major house of light, all of them stone-faced, looking like I just kicked their puppies. The second I entered, every eye locked onto me. It wasn't the way you look at a hero. It was the way you look at an old enemy. Traitor Alex Vance, you stand before the High Chancellor and the Council. Why do you not kneel? A sharp voice barked. I froze. Traitor? I looked up at High Chancellor Thorn. He spoke slowly. Alex Vance, you spent 1,000 years in the Coven. You have our gratitude for your sacrifice. No sacrifice at all, sir, I said humbly. To be precise, it was 1,003 years. Thorn blinked, thrown off by my pedantic correction. But he recovered quickly, his tone shifting. Alex Vance, do you know your crime? I was floored. With respect, Chancellor, I'm not aware of any crime I've committed. Unrepentant. A portly councilman slammed his fist on the table. You reek of dark magic. You've practiced their forbidden arts and fallen from the light. And you have the gall to ask what you've done wrong. I scrambled to explain. Councilman, with all due respect, the dark magic I learned was from the book Master Valerius gave me. It was a necessary cover. My heart, my loyalty to the light, has never wavered. I looked to Valerius, pleading for him to back me up. He avoided my gaze and sighed. Alex, what I gave you was merely the introductory text. Your power now is immeasurable. In 1,000 years to climb so high. Surely you committed countless atrocities? Surely you delved into far darker texts than the one I gave you. I was speechless. What kind of logic was that? I became the Archon because I worked hard, managed well, and never stopped learning. When did I ever commit an atrocity? High Chancellor Thorn spoke, his voice dripping with disappointment. Alex, we know your intentions were good, but your methods, they were catastrophically wrong. The forces of darkness should be exterminated, not given severance packages and sent on their way. You've unleashed 30,000 rogue mages into the world. The potential for disaster is incalculable. I almost laughed. You call that a disaster? They're all law-abiding, tax-paying small business owners now. Besides, you people have been trying to take down the Coven for 10,000 years, and you couldn't even find their front door. Now you're telling me I did it wrong? More importantly, Thorn said, his voice dropping, you are now the Archon. You wield unimaginable dark power. You are, by definition, the greatest Dark Lord in the world. How can the Alliance of Light tolerate your existence? I got it. I finally completely got it. They weren't afraid of 30,000 scattered mages. They were afraid of me, one of their own, who knew all their secrets, who had played the game better than them, and who now wielded a power they couldn't comprehend. I had dissolved the Coven, taking away the great evil they used as a pretext for fundraising, for consolidating power, for everything. Now, they needed a new great evil. And who better for the role than the undercover agent who became the Dark Lord? A classic case of being put out to pasture once the job is done. So, what do you propose I do, Chancellor? I asked, my voice dangerously calm. In light of your past service, We will offer you a path to redemption, Thorn said, a merciful smile playing on his lips. Sever your connection to dark magic. Purge yourself of all power, and we will spare your life. Sever my powers? I thought with a cold, internal laugh. Do you think I'm an idiot? Just then, my mentor Valerius spoke up, his voice full of faux sympathy. Chancellor, Alex is still my student, and his mortal family. They still live. Perhaps there is another way. Alex, after you sever your powers, you will be escorted to the Tower of Penance to reflect on your actions. You will not leave for the rest of your days. As for your mortal family, I will personally see to their well-being. How does that sound? He put a special emphasis on mortal family. It was a threat. My parents were long gone, but I still had distant relatives. We weren't close. I hadn't seen them in a millennium, but they were still my blood. Unbelievable. My good mentor. My good order. When they needed me, I was a once-in-a-generation talent. When they were done with me, I was Traitor Alex Vance, forcing me to destroy my own power, then threatening my family to ensure compliance. After that, lock me in a tower for eternity. Or a retirement package. The entire hall stared at me, waiting for me to break. They had me cornered with no way out. I looked at Valerius's false, "I'm doing this for your own good" face. I looked at Thorn's sanctimonious, "for the greater good" expression. You have got to be kidding me. All right, I slowly straightened up, my voice ringing through the hall. Agent Alex Vance, I will comply. Seeing me be so reasonable, Thorn and the council members shared looks of satisfaction. Valerius let out a breath, a hint of Inahid Cereason on his face. They thought they had one. They didn't know. The book they gave me, The Dark Lord's Handbook, A Guide to Ultimate Power, had a full title. The 9 Circles of the Dark Lord's Handbook. And there was a line in the foreword they must have skipped. To achieve the 9th and final circle, one must first destroy the preceding 8. For 1,000 years, I had perfected my art up to the peak of the 8th circle. I was just waiting for the final push. I couldn't complete the ritual on my own. I needed the right catalyst, the right motivation, and now I had it. So, let the show begin. I stood in the center of the sanctum, the focus of every eye in the room. Get on with it, Vance. No more delays, one of the councilmen barked. Patience, patience, I said, holding up a hand. Gentlemen, pillars of the community, a moment this historic deserves a little ceremony, don't you think? With that, I took a deep breath and launched into the performance of a lifetime. Once upon a time, I began, my voice filled with tragic grandeur. I, Alex Vance, a humble acolyte of this great order, walked alone into the lion's den for the good of all people. For 1,000 years of wind and rain, of endless days and nights. Have you ever seen the abyss at 3 a.m.? I have. Every single day. Every day was a lie, a performance. Every bite of food, every sip of water was tainted with dark energy. Everyone around me was a killer, a monster. I was so scared, so alone. I beat my chest, my voice cracking with emotion. The councilmen exchanged uneasy glances. Thorn frowned, but didn't stop me. He probably figured letting me have a little meltdown would make me more compliant. I snuck a glance at Valerius. He looked deeply uncomfortable. I pressed on, but for the ideals I held in my heart, I endured it all. I became the Archon not for power, but to destroy the coven from within. I dissolved them not to let them run free, but to win a war without shedding a single drop of blood, to bring peace to our time. And what was my reward? What was my reward? I channeled my power, making my eyes glow a demonic red, and shot to my feet, pointing at every single person on the council. My reward is suspicion, slander, the brand of a traitor, and the merciful offer to destroy everything I am. My voice echoed off the marble walls. Fine, 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 I roared. You say my power is dark? Then today, right here, in front of all of you, I will unmake it. With a final shout, I threw my arms wide. The dark energy within me began to spin in reverse. The 9th circle, activated. Boom! An indescribable, terrifying aura erupted from my body. You say my heart has been twisted by darkness? Then today, I'll show you what true darkness looks like. The entire grand sanctum began to shake violently. The reinforced crystal floor cracked and splintered. Thorn and the councilmen's faces went pale. No, he's going to self-destruct. Quickly, the containment matrix. Suppress him. More than a dozen of the most powerful mages in the world acted at once. A net of pure, golden energy materialized above me and descended, aiming to crush me. Too late. I threw my head back and laughed, my hair whipping around me like a storm. The energy net, powerful enough to contain a raging dragon, touched the aura seeping from my skin and evaporated like paper in a furnace. The dozen mages who had cast the spell all coughed up blood, their faces masks of horror. How is this possible? What is this power? His magic. It's not fading, it's growing exponentially. Valerius was utterly dumbfounded, muttering to himself. No, impossible. The Dark Lord's handbook doesn't contain power like this. Unless. That's right, my dear mentor. I turned to him, my grin positively incandescent. The book you gave me was just the starter edition. You didn't know there was a sequel. I call it The Dark Lord Gives Zero FCKS. I was completely making it up, but watching the color drain from his face as he wore an expression of, I should have known, regret was priceless. The ninth circle. Each circle requires the destruction of the last. It wasn't about losing power. It was about purification, shedding the crude, impure energy to refine it into its purest, most potent form. It was the ultimate act of breaking yourself down to build something stronger. In an instant, every magical conduit in my body shattered, only to be instantly reforged, wider and more resilient than before. My core became a swirling black hole, sucking in all ambient energy from the air around me. Light, dark, it didn't matter, and converting it into a new, chaotic, primordial power. My energy levels skyrocketed, blasting past the known limits of mortal magic, past the demigods, past everything they knew, finally settling in a realm they couldn't even comprehend. The great protective wards around the Aegis Order screamed, threatening to collapse. The sky outside turned black, split by lightning, as if reality itself was terrified of the power I now commanded. I slowly opened my eyes. The world had never looked so beautifully clear. I could see the beads of sweat on High Chancellor Thorn's forehead. I could hear the chattering of Valerius's teeth. I could feel the raw, primal fear of every single person in the room. That, I said, stretching my arms and feeling my bones pop satisfyingly, feels much better. You monster. What have you done? Thorn roared, forcing himself to his feet. He summoned the Order's most sacred weapon, the Celestial Blade, Heaven's Wrath. Me? I tilted my head, smiling playfully. I did exactly what you asked. I got rid of my dark magic. See? Not a trace of it left on me. I took one step and appeared directly in front of him. His eyes widened in terror. He swung the Celestial Blade with all his might, unleashing a wave of energy that could cleave a mountain in two. I held up two fingers, my index and my middle finger, and I caught the blade between them. The legendary sword vibrated violently, humming with frustrated power, but it couldn't move another inch. This is it, I sneered, looking at the blade with disdain. This is the ultimate weapon of the Alliance of Light. The butter knife I used to use back at the Coven was sharper. I applied the slightest bit of pressure with my fingers. Crack! The Celestial Blade, an artifact passed down for 10,000 years, shattered into two pieces. Thorn was blasted backward as if hit by a cannonball, coughing up a torrent of blood. He crashed into the High Chancellor's throne behind him, smashing the symbol of ultimate authority into splinters. The hall fell utterly silent. If there are no more Dark Lords in this world, then from this day forward, I, Alex Vance, am a new one. Anyone disagree? Step right up. I picked up the broken hilt of the sword, weighed it in my hand, and casually tossed it. It flew like a comet and embedded itself in the floor right in front of my mentor, Valerius, the metal quivering. Don't look so scared, Master, I said to him with a grin. Your student is a big believer in respecting his elders. You wanted me to go to the Tower of Penance to reflect, right? I think it's a lovely spot. Great views. Perfect for your retirement. I snapped my fingers. Now, then, let the festivities begin. Cue the music. The next second, an invisible field of sonic energy enveloped the hall. The solemn, Sacred hymns that had been playing softly in the background screeched to a halt. In their place, a thunderous, earth-shaking beat began to blast through the sanctum. Party rock is in the house tonight. As the synth melody kicked in, the hallowed frescoes on the ceiling, depicting ancient saints and holy battles, began to warp and shimmer, transforming into a synchronized display of psychedelic disco lights. The grand sanctum of the Aegis Order was now a full-blown rave. The high and mighty councilmen and leaders, every last one of them, began to dance uncontrollably, their bodies jerking and flailing to the beat. Their faces were masks of horror and confusion, their movements a hilarious, grotesque parody of dancing. Everybody just have a good time. I shouted over the music, clapping along. I'm a new Dark Lord, so let's get this party started. All drinks are on High Chancellor Thorn. I walked over to the pathetic heap that was Thorn, squatted down, and patted his pale cheek. See, Chancellor, look how much fun everyone's having. You devil, he hissed, using the last of his strength. Shoo, correction, I said, holding up a finger sternly. It's Dark Lord. Let's be professional about this. I stood up and surveyed the chaotic dance party of the world's most powerful good guys. I stretched again. All right, warm-up's over. Time to get down to business. I pulled out a communications amulet, channeling my new power into it. My voice would be carried to every corner of the continent, to the ears of 30,000 of my recently retired colleagues. Testing, 1, 2. Is this thing on? Attention all former staff. Attention all former staff. To the Blackwood Coven family. This is your Archon, Alex Vance. I seem to have run into a minor workplace issue and will require you all to come back in for a little overtime. Overtime pay is triple the standard rate. Meal and travel stipends will be provided. Exemplary performers will be eligible for legendary tier spell books and limited edition warded real estate. First come, first served. I paused, letting the offer sink in, and then I sent out my call to arms. My 3,000 mages. Are your soul lore banners clean? Get ready. It's time to get back to work. My voice, carried by the amulet, found its way to the ears of every single one of my 30,000 former employees. At that very moment, all across the continent, chaos was erupting in the most mundane of places. On the eastern coast, a huge, brawny man was enthusiastically shouting, "Get your fresh-baked bread, kneaded with my patented bone crusher technique for that extra chewy texture. 2 silver a loaf, 5 for 3. He was the former head of the Coven's hand-to-hand combat division, the man they called Breaker. Suddenly, his hands froze mid-knead. He pulled an amulet from his pocket, pressed it to his ear, and his face lit up with manic glee. The Archon? It's his voice. He dropped the lump of dough, ran into the back of his bakery, and pulled a dusty, locked chest from under a cot. Inside was a massive black banner. The skull and crossbones emblem had been clumsily covered by a crudely embroidered rose. Screw this. Breaker kicked over his entire market stall, roaring at the stunned customers. I'm done selling bread. My glorious Archon needs me. In a bustling city in the Heartlands, the owner of a tavern called the Velvet Glove was lazily counting the day's earnings. She was impossibly beautiful, with a sultry charm that could disarm the most stoic warrior. She was the former head of the Coven's seduction and infiltration unit, famous for her 1,000-touch technique. When a voice whispered from her amulet, she shot upright, her eyes flashing with a dangerous light. That beautiful bastard. He finally called. She pulled a small, enchanted mirror from under the counter. The intricate, dark runes on its border were now covered with cheap, sparkly rhinestones. Knew this day would come, she muttered, touching up her lipstick. Good thing a girl always stays ready. But the most absurd scene was playing out with my brother, Elias, the scribe. He was sitting in a brightly lit schoolroom, patiently teaching a class of 24 5-year-olds. All right, class, pop quiz. A rogue mage robs 3 merchants. Each merchant is carrying a pouch with 1,000 low-grade mana crystals. The mage, dissatisfied with the quality, crushes the crystals into dust and sprinkles them over Farmer McGregor's prize-winning pumpkins, causing them to fatally over-fertilize. How many articles of the Inter-Kingdom Municipal Code has the mage violated? When my voice reached him, he closed the textbook, a razor-sharp glint in his eyes. Archon, you're finally initiating the Great Purge. He He placed the book on his desk and bowed deeply to the bewildered children. Students, your teacher has been called away on a very important project. This project will determine the future stability of the entire continent. Please continue with your silent reading. With that, he retrieved an abacus from under his desk. It was forged from thousand-year-old ironwood, and each bead was inscribed with a rune of deadly arithmetic. With a single flick, it could calculate a man's life expectancy down to the last second. 3,000 stories, all playing out at once. Bakers, bartenders, teachers, farmers. 2 of my former top assassins had even started a surprisingly successful stand-up comedy duo. But in that moment, 3,000 torrents of dark energy, some strong, some weak, erupted from every corner of the land. They converged into a tidal wave of power that shook the very foundations of the world, all of it aimed at one place, the Aegis Order. Back at the Order, in the rave sanctum, the music was still pumping. The councilmen were still twitching. I'd found an unbroken chair, kicked my feet up, and was enjoying a bag of sunflower seeds I'd found in my pocket dimension. Next to me, a young man was trembling uncontrollably. His name was Jake, a low-level acolyte at the Order. His job today had been to deliver refreshments to the Grand Sanctum. He had walked in at the exact moment the beat dropped. I considered just vaporizing him, but he looked so pathetically terrified, snot running down his face, that I found it amusing and decided to keep him. Here, I said, offering him a handful of seeds. Don't be shy. Jake took them with a shaking hand. Yes, sir. Are you really him? The legendary agent Alex Vance, who went undercover for 1,000 years. It's Archon now, I corrected. Why, yes. Lord Archon. Jake looked like he was about to cry. Why are you doing this? They're the leaders of the Alliance of Light. I cracked a seed and expertly spit the shell onto the face of a twitching councilman. The Light? What's the Light? Holding endless meetings, backstabbing each other, making empty promises, and then throwing away your most valuable asset like a piece of trash? That's the Light. I pointed at the barely conscious High Chancellor Thorne. Him, leader of the Alliance. He didn't want me dead, but he couldn't let me live. Because if there's no great evil to fight, he can't justify his budget. I gestured to my mentor, Valerius, who was catatonic in a corner. Him, my mentor. He wanted me dead, because with me gone, his legacy would be perfect. They needed a villain to prove they were heroes. They needed a target to consolidate their power. I looked at Jake and grinned. So, I gave them what they wanted. I became the villain. You know what that's called? Fulfilling customer demand. The customer is always right. And if the customer complains, I can always arrange a meeting for them with their maker. Jake's entire worldview was imploding. Just then, my ever-loyal HR director, Lilith, arrived. She was the first. A flash of crimson light tore through the Order's protective wards, and she appeared at the entrance to the sanctum. She was back in her signature blood-red gown, a whip made of polished bone in her hand, radiating an aura of deadly cold. But when she saw the scene inside, she froze. The pulsing music, the flashing lights, the cadre of esteemed elders breakdancing like they were having seizures. And me, sitting calmly in a chair, eating sunflower seeds. Archon. Lilith's expression was one of pure confusion. Is this some new form of psychological torture? Sonic soul rending? Nope. It's my welcome home party, I said, waving her over. Lily, you made it. Come, have a seat. Let me introduce you. This is our new intern, Jake. Jake, this is my chief of HR, Lilith Thorne. Jake promptly fainted. Lilith didn't even glance at him. She strode to my side, her eyes shining with absolute adoration. Archon, I came as soon as I received your message. Are you all right? They didn't harm you, did they? Do I look harmed? I gestured at our surroundings. I'm great. Them, on the other hand, I think they might have overexerted themselves. Lilith finally relaxed, her voice filled with excitement. Archon, your foresight is unparalleled. I knew it. I knew dissolving the coven was just the first step in a grander strategy. You feigned retreat to lull the enemy into a false sense of security, then lured them into a trap to wipe them out in a single blow. Then you'll shatter the Alliance of Light and build a new world order. Archon, this gambit was sheer genius. I just stared at her, I was just a guy who came home to get his pension and nearly got himself killed for it. I threw a tantrum and flipped the table. That's it. Has your brain to sycophancy filter been set to max? Whatever. Let her believe what she wants. I'm the Dark Lord. I don't have to explain myself. Ahem. I clear my throat. Lilith, your ability to see the bigger picture is commendable. It shows you've been reading that copy of The Art of the Hostile Takeover I gave you. Her eyes shone even brighter. Yes, Archon. I have committed it to memory, and have already written a 13,000-word analysis on how its principles can be applied to our organization. It is ready for your review at your earliest convenience. Oh God, I was just making a joke. Why is my staff even more extra than I am? As we were speaking, the sound from outside the order were growing. Not a battle, but of employees clocking in. Soul extraction is present and accounted for. Archon, can we get a 30% increase on our quarterly KPI goals? Curse Corp requests permission to engage. Our newly developed terminal annoyance, Hex, hasn't undergone clinical trials yet, and these elders look like perfect test subjects. Logistics and catering has arrived. Archon, for the victory feast, are we thinking roasted griffin or Kraken hot pot? Or we could just barbecue the High Chancellor. I brought a dozen different marinades. Get out of here. I psychically punted the head of catering across the courtyard. I'm a Dark Lord, not a cannibal. His name is Thorn. 30,000 mages swarmed the mountain on which the Aegis Order was built. They didn't storm the gates or start looting. They formed orderly lines at the entrance, where Elias was handling check-ins and attendance. Name: Breaker. Former department. Close quarters combat. You brought your banner. You know it. Good. Proceed to HR to update your personnel file. The acolytes of the Aegis Order were dumbfounded. These were the bloodthirsty, chaotic forces of darkness. Their discipline and organization were better than the Order's elite guard. I stood up, dusting the seed shells off my tunic. The music stopped as if on cue. The elders in the hall collapsed into twitching piles, foaming at the mouth. I walked to the entrance of the sanctum and looked out at the 30,000 familiar, excited faces. They had changed. They were no longer the bloodthirsty, kill-crazy monsters I had first met. They were chefs, teachers, merchants, normal people trying to make a living. But they hadn't changed at all. With a single word from me, they were still the army that could make the entire world tremble. I took a deep breath, 1,000 emotions welling up inside me. A millennium ago, I joined the Coven with a burning desire to destroy it. A millennium later, I had become its master. Family. I threw my arms wide. Welcome back. All hail the Archon. Hail. Hail. The roar was so powerful it felt like the mountain itself was going to crumble. I looked at my wonderfully bizarre army, then back at the puddle of so-called heroes on the floor, and a bold, exciting, and frankly ridiculous business plan began to form in my mind. The old era was over. A new era was beginning. The era of the Blackwood Coven. And I, Alex Vance, was about to ring the opening bell. The Alliance of Light was finished. Not in a physical sense. I didn't go on a killing spree. Murder is messy, inefficient, and the post-op cleanup is a logistical nightmare. As a highly qualified manager, I much prefer to crush my competition with a superior business model. The first thing I did after securing the Aegis Order was to hold the inaugural press conference for my new organization, the Paradigm. The venue was the Grand Sanctum. The backdrop was the still unconscious forms of the former leaders of the Light. I appointed Jake as the press secretary. The kid was timid, but he was a decent writer and a surprisingly good public speaker once you lit a fire under him. He was perfect for PR. Esteemed colleagues of the magical community, members of the press, good afternoon. Jake announced, his voice amplified by a magical megaphone, shaking only slightly. Welcome to the Paradigm's official press conference on promoting healthy and sustainable growth in a magical sector. And now, please welcome the founder, chairman, and CEO of the Paradigm, Archon Alex Vance. I strode onto the makeshift stage, dressed in a sharp, custom-tailored black suit that shimmered like solidified shadow. As the magical flash globes of the reporters strobed, Lilith and Elias took their places on either side of me. Friends, colleagues, I began, tapping the microphone. First, I have some good news. The Alliance of Light, led by the Aegis Order, due to long-term operational mismanagement, A chaotic command structure, outdated spell set, and a poor user experience has, as of today, been wholly acquired by the paradigm. The crowd of reporters gasped. Acquired? What did that even mean? I know you may have questions, I said with a placating smile. To put it simply, starting today, the brands, assets, and personnel of the Aegis Order, the Silver Hand, the Sunstone Monastery, all these household names now fall under the paradigm umbrella. The Alliance of Light used to manage things, but now the paradigm will manage them. And the things they couldn't manage will manage those too. To ensure a smooth transition, former High Chancellor Thorne will be staying on as an honorary consultant for our corporate culture and synergy department. I gestured to Thorne, who was just beginning to stir. Former Master Valerius will be transferred to our new Tower of Penance historical theme park, where he will serve as the first park director, responsible for daily operations and ticket sales. I pointed to my former mentor, who was staring blankly at the ceiling. As for the other esteemed council members, I said, my gaze sweeping across the room, they will all be enrolled in the Paradigm Re-Education and Career Advancement Center for a mandatory 3-month seminar on modern magical ethics and management skills. Only those who pass the final exam will be eligible for re-employment. My words, broadcast by enchanted crystals and scrying pools, shot across the world in an instant. Everyone lost their minds. The Dark Lord wasn't executed. He staged a corporate takeover of the good guys. This was somehow more terrifying than him just slaughtering everyone. By what right? This is madness. The world has gone mad. Avenge the Alliance. Countless righteous disciples, burning with fury, charged toward the Aegis Order to liberate their leaders. But when they arrived at the foot of the mountain, they were stopped dead by the scene before them. The paradigm had set up a series of booths and kiosks right outside the main gate. Spell exchange, physical augmentation, sign UPS, club membership registration. Step right up, folks, don't be shy. The Aegis Order's legendary heart of the Comet's Sword technique, originally priced at 99,000 premium crystals and requires 30 years of loyal service. Today it's yours for free. All you have to do is sign up for our Happy Magic Rewards program. Fresh from the Sunstone Monastery's Forbidden Library, the Sutra of the Blazing Sun, still warm to the touch. Want to learn the sacred arts? Don't bother with those monks who just mumble all day. Join the paradigm, and one of our lovely instructors will give you one-on-one tutoring. Success guaranteed. Breaker and a few of his old cronies had set up an outdoor gym in the main plaza. Tired of hitting a plateau? Frustrated by your weak constitution? Come on down to Breaker's Body Blitz. Scientific physical conditioning for rapid muscle growth. Sign up today, buy 1 year, get 1 free, and we'll throw in a complimentary bottle of power-enhancing protein powder. The crusading disciples, who had arrived ready for war, stared at the legendary spells they had only dreamed of being handed out like flyers. They saw priceless potions being given away as free samples. They fell silent. One of them hesitantly stepped forward and accepted a copy of the Heart of the Comet. Then another, and another. Soon, the righteous crusade had turned into an orderly line. Well, when you put it like that, was the general consensus. The eternal struggle between good and evil, it turned out, was no match for free and 75% off. This was my real plan. I wouldn't kill them. I would assimilate them. Why was there a conflict between light and dark in the first place? Because the Alliance of Light held a monopoly on power, forcing everyone else to either play by their restrictive rules or turn to forbidden arts just to get by. Their foundation was their monopoly on the best spells, potions, and resources. So, the most devastating blow I could strike was to destroy that foundation. I turned their most prized possessions into cheap, easily accessible commodities. It was the ultimate hostile takeover. A few days later, the Paradigm launched its first proprietary app, Soul Scroll. It was a short-form video platform. Any magic user could upload clips of themselves training, dueling, brewing potions, or enchanting items. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Breaker. And today, for your viewing pleasure, I'm going to smash this giant boulder with my forehead. Wait a minute. Who the hell swapped this out for a block of diamond? Ugh. Can you even believe this? Got another ticket from a Sky Patrol today for excessive velocity on my flying sword. This is harassment. My 100-day challenge to master the heart of the comet. Day 1, feeling good, successfully channel my inner energy. Smash that like button, guys, and follow my journey. The entire culture of the magical world began to change at a dizzying speed. People were shocked to discover that dark mages didn't spend all their time plotting murder. They also did sponsored posts and shared funny videos of their cats. They learned that the enlightened masters of the light weren't above it all. They would get into vicious comment wars over whose video got more views. The line between good and evil became hopelessly blurred in the tidal wave of digital entertainment. Finally, I released my magnum opus, Manovist. Mages could deposit their spare enchanted crystals into a secure digital vault and earn daily interest. The paradigm then used this massive pool of capital to invest in promising small organizations and magical startups. Within a month, the Alliance of Light's entire economic system had collapsed. The great houses discovered their disciples were secretly depositing their monthly stipends into Manovist, then using the interest to donate to their favorite Soul Scroll streamers. Lilith, meanwhile, leveraged her HR expertise to launch Magic Link, a professional networking and recruitment service. Tired of being exploited by your condescending master? Stuck practicing the same outdated spells for centuries? Come to the paradigm. We offer comprehensive career planning. The Aegis Order's top disciple just jumped ship to join us. We started him at a director-level position with triple the salary, a private enchanted manor, and a company griffin. Panic swept through the old houses as their best and brightest talent abandoned them in droves. They finally understood my true power. The new Dark Lord wasn't here to destroy the world. He was here to change the rules of the game. Under this multi-pronged assault, the Alliance of Light ceased to exist in any meaningful way. They wanted to fight back, but they didn't know how. They couldn't beat me in a fight. I could personally flatten every last one of them. They couldn't win a war of words. My PR department, Jake and his newly recruited army of online trolls, could spin any narrative they wanted. Every declaration of righteous war they posted on Soul Scroll was immediately buried under an avalanche of LOL, cringe, and okay, boomer. They were economically crushed. Their talent was being poached. Their culture was being eroded. High Chancellor Thorne, sitting in his re-education seminar, saw a Soul Scroll video of a streamer named Sunstone's hottest monk go viral for performing a beatbox routine on his prayer drum. He coughed up one last mouthful of blood and passed out for good. Master Valerius became the official mascot of the Tower of Penance theme park. His job was to stand at the entrance and pose for photos with tourists. He got quite good at it, developing a range of distinct, tragic expressions to use depending on which house the tourist belonged to. As for me, I became the most revered and feared entity in the world. I spent most of my time on the peak of the former Aegis Order mountain, drinking tea, scrolling through Soul Scroll, and occasionally offering guidance on the reports Lilith and Elias brought me. Lily, our main Q3 objective is to double daily active users on Soul Scroll. I have an idea. We'll launch a reality competition show, Magic Idol. We get the most promising young mages from all the great houses to compete. Their fans vote with crystals. The winners form the world's first magical supergroup. Elias, Manovist is great, but it's not enough. Let's launch arcane equity loans. Young people with poor natural talent can take out a loan to buy the resources they need to enhance their abilities and get a head start on their dreams. What if they can't pay it back? No problem. They can work off their debt right here at the Paradigm. We're always hiring. Every one of my brilliant ideas made Lilith and Elias look at me with stars in their eyes. They would implement my plans with ruthless efficiency, each one turning the magical world on its head again. The way they looked at me had evolved from admiration to zealous faith. To them, I wasn't a Dark Lord. I was a god, sent to guide their stagnant world into a glorious new age. Only I knew the truth. I was just a poor bastard who got sent on an undercover mission his first day in a new world. My only real goal had ever been to survive. 10 years later, the world was unrecognizable. The once unbridgeable chasm between light and dark had been filled in. Now, everyone trained together by day and watched Soul Scroll streams together by night, occasionally getting into furious online arguments about celebrity gossip. The noble quest to vanquish evil was a thing of the past. The most popular career paths were now magical influencer and brand ambassador. My company, The Paradigm, was the sole superpower in the world. We had a monopoly on spells, potions, finance, entertainment, everything. If I sneezed, the entire global economy caught a cold. And I, the architect of it all, was bored out of my mind. Revenge. Thorn and Valerius were now famous comedians. Thorn had accidentally flashed his undergarments during a live stream where he was ranting about the decline of modern morality. He gained 1 million followers overnight and now hosts a popular self-help stream. Valerius became a viral meme after a tourist kid sprayed him in the face with a water pistol at the theme park. His look of blank, existential despair was priceless. For men who valued their dignity above all else, this was a fate far worse than death. My revenge was complete. World domination, I'd done it. And I'd done it in a way they couldn't even fight. Now, the daily reports from Lilith and Elias were about things like record-breaking sponsorship deals for Magic Idol Season 2 and a 0.1% decrease in the default rate for arcane equity loans. It was mind-numbingly dull. This was my old life. The life of a corporate drone. Round and round we go. The only difference was that this time, I owned a corporation. One day, I was sitting alone on the peak of what was now called Paradigm Point, watching the clouds drift by, contemplating the meaninglessness of it all. Jake approached cautiously. He wasn't the timid boy I'd met 10 years ago. He wore a designer suit. His hair was perfectly styled, and he carried himself with the confidence of a top executive. Archon, he said respectfully, handing me a data crystal. Next quarter's strategic plan for your review. It primarily concerns expanding our operations into the demonic and celestial realms, a crucial step toward our grand vision of interdimensional market synergy. I didn't even look at it. I just waved it away. Jake. Yes, Archon. Do you think this world is interesting? Jake blinked, then puffed out his chest, his face glowing with fervor. Interesting? Archon, it's incredible. Under your brilliant leadership, the world is more vibrant than ever. Everyone has the opportunity to achieve their full potential. This is a golden age. I sighed. It's boring. I stood up and stretched. Jake, transmit my orders. Effective immediately, I am resigning from all positions at the Paradigm. Lilith is the new chairwoman and CEO. Elias is president. You could be the chairman of the board. Keep an eye on them for me. Try not to let them run my company into the ground. Jake's face went white. Archon, where? Where are you going? Are you abandoning us? It's a big world, I said with a small smile. I want to go see it. With that, I took a step and vanished. Where was I going? I had no idea. First, I went to the mortal realm and tried being a normal person. I forged an identity, aced the civil service exams, and worked as a government official for a few weeks. It was even more boring than running a magical empire. After I got fed up with the corruption and quietly executed a few of the worst offenders, I moved on. I went to the Beastlands and spent a few weeks drinking and swapping stories with the great beast lords. They tried to recruit me for a war against the human kingdoms. I told them the humans were under my protection now, and if they so much as touched one of them, I'd turn their entire continent into a parking lot. They assured me they were only joking. I even visited the underworld and found it completely enthralled by my company's latest VR game, Samsara Online. Billions of souls, blissfully wasting their eternity in a digital afterlife. Everywhere I went, I saw my own shadow, the influence of the Paradigm. I felt hollow, until one day, a crack appeared in the sky. A golden-haired being with large, feathered wings fell out of it and landed in a heap right in front of me. He called himself an angel. He started babbling in a language I didn't understand. I looked at him. He looked at me. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like things were about to get interesting again. I pulled out my old, worn copy of the Dark Lord's Handbook and gave the bewildered angel my most sincere, welcoming smile. Friend, I said, do you have a moment to talk about maximizing your potential?